we go, recording. Right then, good afternoon, Jon. Thank you very much for joining me for afternoon tea today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I have water, not tea, but I had one earlier.
That's so my first question to you is, what was your childhood like?
I've got to say, by the way, I love looking at the questions briefly and just having an idea of, because I think it's a really good exercise to go through these questions. It was really interesting as a process. I think my childhood was happy. I've got good memories of it. I've got good memories of playing football in fields and adventures in with friends. I was by the countryside in an old mining town called Midsummer Norton in Somerset. So we had the fields next to us, and I have very happy memories of part real, part fantasy of what we were doing there as a group. And as well as that, playing games with my brother. He would make up games. And Christmases, I've got those memories. I think when you come into your 40s, it's much more of a montage looking back at your childhood. And but yeah, now I've got very good memories of Christmases and what that meant, of being Christian briefly, because that's what the school did, but not really the family having that kind of faith. And so that's something that I didn't grow with me, but was part of that base, that foundation. So positive, I think.
Good. And did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I'm the third. So I've got an older sister, 4 years older, an older brother who was 3 years older, and a younger brother who was 9 years younger than me. So when he came along, I was thinking about this earlier. The first year, when my mum was pregnant, was a really down year for me, and I think that was all about that lack of attention. Suddenly, I wasn't the youngest anymore, and my mum's thinking her mind's elsewhere. So I remember that in '87, that was a weird year. But when my younger brother Dan was born, it was fantastic. We were all like parents without the responsibilities. It was beautiful. So really, really happy to be in that position. But yeah, I was no longer the baby anymore.
You were no longer the baby. You were the big brother.
That's right.
Or one of the big brothers.
Yeah.
So I suppose that gave you the opportunity to grow up as well.
It did. It gave me a different perspective. And I really enjoyed being able to have that sense of playfulness, but also, yes, my position in the family. I think I was sort of the diplomat or the peacemaker within the group because of my older brother and sister. So I think that's where I naturally sat. But yeah, it was lovely having the interaction with my younger brother. I think also that meant that me and my older brother, there was less of a natural conflict between us, where he would be the older brother. Yeah, he was annoying. He was wonderful but annoying when before I was about 16, and then suddenly he became the older brother who would look after me and look out for me. And that transition was really interesting.
And obviously you went to school, and did you enjoy school, or were you glad when it was all over?
A few parts to that, but I loved primary school. I loved having, again, I had a good group of friends, and they were a fun and bright group in primary school. And one particular teacher, Mr. Lockyer, gave us the freedom to spend some of the periods writing. So we would write fictional stories in the library rather than do whatever group activity was going on. And that was great. That was really creative, and we just enjoyed making up. We were fans of Ghostbusters, so we made almost the real Ghostbusters, and we created stories about that. That was fantastic. Secondary school was mixed. Secondary school was, I think, as a lot of people find, it's bigger, it's intimidating, there's cliques, and so that was a weird mix. But one of the highlights of secondary school was going to, it was a Canadian exchange. So for 3 weeks, I went to Canada, and then whoever your exchange partner was, they would come back to the UK. I was about 14. That was magical. I thought Toronto was just a futuristic utopia to me. It was like, wow, what is this place? And I think I took that idea with me. So when it came to, I mean, my A-levels weren't great. I was slack, and just socially it wasn't a fantastic time. But from this mixed environment of secondary school, which was hit and miss, I did take a year out to go to Indiana high school. I forgot to put that on my when I sent you the stuff, but that was a really good year. So I spent a year in Indiana. So although I was 18, I was sort of being a 17, 18-year-old again, but in high school, because I think growing up, I really was influenced by North American culture.
And then you left school, and then you went on to university.
Yeah, so I took
university in 1998. So what did you study at university?
At university, so I did entertainment technology, which was brand new then. I haven't checked recently to see if it's still going or not, but the idea of it is to give you a wholesale what the entertainment industry is about. So you will learn the graphics, the animation, the web design, as well as how to project manage. So it gives you all that, and then it sort of says, go and specialize. But we were the guinea pigs, so I think we were learning as we went along, and there was no contacts because we were a brand new group. So really interesting to try and find our way in that course. But yeah, it was a really interesting time at university.
Good. So did you enjoy your time at university? Because I presume you lived away from home first time.
Yeah, not first time. Indiana was the first time. But this time there was no parental figures there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Parental
figures.
You were responsible for yourself, and
yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, it was the first year was kind of wild, but we had the campus environment. The second year, there was the same people, but no campus. So we were in a house, which, that was a difficult year. Lovely people, but just us in each other's faces. It was a bit Lord of the Flies in a sense. So that was the dodgiest part. But from there into a bed sit, that sort of gave me the foundation again, and I could get back to studying properly and enjoying it. Portsmouth's a really interesting place. You've got the as people call them, you have the townies or the locals. You have the Navy background, which I'm guessing is diminishing the more time goes on, and then you have the students. 20,000 in my day. So it's a big community in Portsmouth. And because of that, there's always something to do, and it's just getting the balance right. Yeah, an interesting place to be.
Your second year, you found it difficult getting down to do the study and then all living together in one house. It was,
I think it's really important to have that base, wherever it is, just to have that foundation. And when your house is chaotic and all hours of the day, that was a weird year. But definitely learned from it.
Good. So when you graduated from university, was voiceover the first job you did then?
No, far from it. I had some background already developing, which was my musical theatre and opera that had started from school. and university was another chance to be performing. So I did big band, and I did musicals and opera in an extracurricular capacity. But the first thing I did actually was I went home. My younger brother was still growing up, so it was my natural place, I think, still to go back to Somerset and as a base, as a place to look for work from. And I ended up at Norton Radstock College as a receptionist, which was limiting. Suddenly you were treated as someone who had to stay at the desk, and you couldn't surf the nets. You just had to sit there. You'd make coffee or tea and you just carry on. So I did that for a little bit whilst I searched. And then I had that sort of sliding doors moment of, well, what do I do next? And then one option was looking after kids. I mean, I mentioned already that I've had a younger brother of nine years younger, and I had that sort of instinct, I guess, at this point to look to help support younger kids, and so there was an opportunity to go to a nursery environment and help in that way. Or there was the Ministry of Defence, which I also applied for. And I went with my head, and I went with the career choice and joined the Ministry of Defence.
I bet that was interesting.
It was. I became a cog in a wheel, a very big machine, or cruise liner, whatever you wanted to find the Ministry of Defence as. It was lots of interesting projects, it was. I liked the organizational side of it. There's a part of me which likes to sort, to cull, to do Excel, to do all those things, and so that part of me was happy. But it didn't serve me creatively. I still did extra. My creative part was still outside of work, so I still did my opera, my musicals in the evening. So it was two-tiered. My vocation was separate to my job.
Yeah. Okay.
Did that for 13 years.
Yeah. And so have you had any unusual requests for voiceovers?
Yes, I'm going to check my notes just to remind myself, but yes, I did. So that came after voluntary redundancy. I suddenly had the opportunity to do voiceovers, learn more about the profession. Unexpected ones. I once did a law module, so a module about law for someone, and they wanted music for study purposes. So I sang the content for them and put music to it as a way for them to memorize their law module. That was interesting. I had fun doing it. I did a parody song. If anyone's seen Nightmare Before Christmas, there's a song called This Is Halloween. Someone wanted a parody song for a financial firm where I changed all the lyrics. And that was really fun to do because I did had to do different voices, different pitches, had to modulate some of the high ones or low ones. And I also did a Bohemian Rhapsody parody for a wedding. There's a lot of harmonies to Bohemian Rhapsody. That took a while. I should have asked for more money for that one, but that was really fun to do. That was really good job.
Yeah. And have you ever had to do a voiceover for anyone famous?
Sadly not a voiceover, but I have been an extra. So I, as part of when I had voluntary redundancy, I decided to combine my starting up of a voiceover with being a support artist, or classically known as an extra. So although I have done a few, I've worked for Fujitsu and the UN, so a few famous groups, but no famous individuals. But as a voice, as an extra, I've been on productions like The Current War or Current Wars, which was Benedict Cumberbatch. I very much remember that was in a University of London, and people just it was a nighttime shoot, but there were students and people outside, and you knew when Benedict Cumberbatch was going to come up on set because there were screams from below when he went past everyone, and he was lovely. I met him briefly. I met Matt Smith when he was on The Crown. I did an episode of that, and I did a Doctor Who Christmas special with Peter Capaldi during that period, and that was really interesting. The best thing about that part, again, this is doing your own business means that you have the time to be a support artist, and the best part about it is watching people's processes. And occasionally you might get lucky enough to say hi, and they might say something to you. You're not supposed to talk to them first, apparently, but occasionally that does happen. But it's great to watch them. And the main thing I've learned from that is it's not a glamorous job. Obviously, being an extra is definitely not, but being an actor, doing the same lines again and again, smoking the same cigar again and again from different angles, it's a disciplined job. And I have a lot more respect for what actors do because it's a lot of hours.
And looking back over your life, is there anything that you would have changed?
That was a really interesting question. I did think about that when I saw that one. I just think do things sooner. I think now I know more than I did. I would learn quicker, do things quicker. When it comes to A-levels, possibly not bother with A-levels. There was a lot of pressure in those days of, if you want to make it somewhere, you need to take A-levels. That's absolute rubbish. But at the time, that's what everyone thought. So I went down the well-trodden path of A-levels. So either buckle down and get good grades or not bother with them at all, I think. Move around the Ministry of Defense quicker. I spent some time, I did things because people asked me to. And so I spent time doing, for example, waste disposal within the Ministry of Defense for 7 years. I remember one meeting distinctly when I said, I've been doing this for 7 years, and someone under their breath said, "Good God," or something like that. And I just it made me feel, oh man, have I really been doing this for too long? So yeah, I would move around a lot more and not settle down into one role for too long. And the working with kids, I feel like that is not the same as it used to be. I feel I've missed that boat in a big way. So I used to have that instinct. And we talked about that sliding doors moment when I went and joined the Ministry of Defense, which financially and educationally it served me well, but I do miss that I didn't take the opportunity more to inspire children, I think.
So how can anybody on the broadcast or listening to the recordings help you?
Audio collaboration. So as a voiceover, I'm here to make voiceover audio easier and simpler for clients. So that could be adding audio polish to videos, animations, or it could be promoting a business. Or it could be the product itself, so music, or it could be audiobooks, or an e-module that you want read out loud. So I think, and talking of music, it could be a celebration, a memory aid, catchy branding. But I think, so if anyone knows of companies, marketeers, videographers, animators, or movie makers that could use that audio input, that's what I'm looking for, really.
And if they need help, how can they get in touch with you?
Probably, well, I've got 3 ways. Would be email, and that would be jon.paget@gmail.com. LinkedIn, I'm on there as Jonathan-Paget-voice-coach, or website jonpagetvocals.com. It's probably the easiest one to remember. I should have just stuck to that one.
Are there any questions from the audience?
I think you've done good, girl. Honestly, you've been very thorough.
They were good questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me for afternoon tea today.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the course in a couple of days that you've got going on, Karen.
Yes, I'm running a course on the 16th of April, 1 till 3, if anybody is interested. I know Mandy is coming on it and he's looking forward to it. It's £10 a ticket, so it's not going to break your bank, and it's on stress and relaxation. So if you want a ticket, please do contact me.